Aloha, and welcome to Kona, known throughout its human history for its calm seas, balmy weather, and productive agricultural lands. These characteristics have attracted many different cultural groups over the years: Polynesians, Europeans, Americans, Chinese, Portuguese, Japanese, Filipinos, and others, each helping to shape and in turn being shaped by the cultural and natural environment. The result is what you see in Kona today, a rich multicultural society created by different people coming over time and adapting their distinct cultures to a new environment. Why did they come? Why did they stay? Let's find out. Sometime between 500 and 1200 AD, Polynesians accomplished the remarkable feat of transplanting an entire culture by canoe to Hawai'i. Across thousands of miles of open ocean, they brought with them the food plants, animals, and tools they would need to survive. They found Kona to be rich and fruitful, with natural resources that stretched from the sea to the uplands. The Hawaiians divided the land into wedges that included offshore waters and reefs, shoreline, inland farmland, rainforest, and perhaps the summit of a mountain. They called these wedges of land ahupua'a. Within the ahupua'a, most items necessary to sustain life could be found, grown, or harvested. A shortage of fresh water challenged Kona's first residents just as it does today. However, early Hawaiians learned to flourish in this environment by perfecting dryland farming techniques and conserving limited supplies of water. But it wasn't just a shortage of water that the ancient Hawaiians had to contend with. Active volcanoes also threatened life and property in Old Hawaii. This island boasts the most active volcano on Earth, Kilauea, the tallest volcano, Mauna Kea, and the largest volcano, Mauna Loa. Plus, Kona has Hualalai, its own active volcano that rises over 8,000 feet above Kailua village. In spite of the potential threat, these mountains shield Kona from trade winds and create the special climate that Kona enjoys. These unique climatic conditions also made Kona an ideal environment for growing crops. With plentiful food from the land and sea, Hawaiians flourished in Kona for many generations, and for hundreds of years after their arrival, world events did not affect the Polynesian culture. All that changed in January 1779, when Captain James Cook anchored in nearby Kealakekua Bay. At the time of Cook's arrival, thousands of Hawaiians were living in small villages along the shore and on the hillsides surrounding the bay.
The ships continued to be much crowded with natives and were surrounded by a multitude of canoes. I had nowhere in the course of my voyages seen so numerous a body of people assembled at one place. For, besides those who had come off to us in canoes, all the shore of the bay was covered with spectators, and many hundreds were swimming round the ships like shoals of fish.
The famed navigator, along with native Hawaiians, died here during a skirmish just a few short weeks later. This unfortunate incident did not, however, impede the steady flow of explorers and traders to the Sandwich Islands or the Kona district. Kona became a regular provisioning stop for European ships en route to Asia. Captains, eager to fill their empty holds with Hawaiian sandalwood, also filled their larders with fresh produce, dried meat, and fresh water. This relationship was welcomed by some Hawaiian ali'i, in particular a young chief named Kamehameha, who with the help of Western technology was able to consolidate his power and unite the islands under his rule in 1795, becoming the first king of the Hawaiian Islands. By 1820, ships carrying cargoes of California cattle, sea otter furs, and whale oil were regularly dropping anchor at Kealakekua Bay. Native Hawaiians, overwhelmed with the onslaught of Western diseases, were unprepared to cope with the effects of the cultural, religious, and technological changes that accompanied the foreigners. Tens of thousands of Hawaiians died during this period from disease or famine, and an exodus from the rural countryside to population centers at Honolulu and Lahaina ensued. When Kamehameha died at Kailua in 1819, he had witnessed and participated in the catapulting of his people out of a stone age, but with the culture still intact. Sadly, that too was about to change. Within weeks of his death, an important cornerstone in traditional Hawaiian society was compromised when an ancient kapu, or prohibition, was broken when Kamehameha's heir and two powerful queens ate together for the first time at Kailua. This single incident would put into motion a chain of events never before seen in Hawaiian culture. Throughout the kingdom, ancient temples were burned and god images destroyed in a general purging. It was into this religious vacuum that the first Christian missionaries arrived. Sent by the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions, the original company disembarked at Kailua in the spring of 1820, bringing with them a decidedly different belief system that involved the building of stone churches to one god instead of stone heiau, or temples, to many gods. During the first years of the mission at Kailua, at least two modest churches preceded Mokuaikaua Church before it was completed in 1837. Hawaiians, using hand-hewn koa, lava, stone, and coral lime mortar, constructed this elegant church. Mokuaikaua still serves the Kona community today, more than 160 years after its construction. Native Hawaiians adopted more than religious beliefs from the foreigners. Enamored with Western architecture, the Hawaiian chief, Kuakini, had a large two-story home constructed directly across from the church. Hulihe'e Palace was completed in 1838 and served as a summer residence for Hawaiian royalty throughout the 19th century. There were other changes that came from abroad as well. Throughout the first half of the 19th century, European and American entrepreneurs attempted many commercial ventures in Hawaii, including agricultural crops. Hawaii's cattle industry was born in the Kona district when British navigator Captain George Vancouver unloaded the first sheep and cattle at Kealakekua Bay in 1793. This simple gift would provide the foundation for Hawaii's ranching industry in the 19th century. Coffee, introduced to Kona in 1828, was the first of these, with large-scale harvests beginning in the 1840s, followed by ventures in cotton, animal hides, sheep's wool, dairying, cattle ranching, sugar, tobacco, and sisal. Western innovations would once again compromise and challenge traditional Hawaiian culture. Beginning in 1845, Kamehameha III enacted a land reformation policy known as the mahele, or partitioning. This Western system of land ownership would effectively deny many Native Hawaiians access to the resources needed to support their traditional subsistence lifestyle. An important provision in the mahele allowed for the purchase of land by foreigners for the first time. As a result, sizable ranches, coffee plantations, and other commercial agricultural crops were established in the Kona district. One such foreign entrepreneur was a young Englishman named Henry Nicholas Greenwell, who by coincidence had arrived in the islands in 1850. His arrival would influence the course of Kona's agricultural history for the next 2 generations. Greenwell built and operated a general merchandise store at his Kalu Kalu homestead and also pioneered the production and marketing of coffee, goat hides, sheep's wool, butter, and beef cattle.
Went with 10 horses to Kahalewai, taking a load of coffee, a jaunt which I performed twice last week. I have purchased since last July between 70 and 80,000 pounds of coffee, the chief portion of which came from Keawe and was bought at 9 cents per pound. The 3 dairies are well established and good men at each place, and good butter made. Nahuina is the best of the 3 places, and the establishment of the dairy there will add largely to the number of tame cattle. The wild cattle have almost deserted the neighborhood of Kunupa and Wai'io.
Ranching helped to shape late 19th century Kona and made important contributions to the economy of the district and to Hawaii's unique ranching culture. Did you know that ranching in Kona predates ranching in the American West by a generation? Native Hawaiian and Portuguese immigrants dominated the ranching industry and worked as cowboys, dairymen, goat runners, and bullock hunters. Later, Chinese, Japanese, and Filipino immigrants would find a place in the ranching industry as well, primarily as cooks, weed men, and stone wall builders. Beginning with the Chinese in the 1850s, a host of immigrants made their way to the isolated Kona district, where many found work on large coffee plantations, opened small businesses, or leased small farms of their own. Portuguese families, who began arriving in the 1870s, settled throughout the district and initially worked coffee. Falling coffee prices at the end of the 19th century prompted their move into other ventures, especially in the dairying and ranching industries. The Japanese would also make a significant impression. Within 30 years of the first emigrants' arrival to the Kona district, around 1890, they would make up over 50% of the district's population and are most associated with the coffee industry. Today, many descendants of these early coffee pioneers still live and work the land that their parents and grandparents cleared and planted well over 170 years ago. All of these pioneers and their children influenced the course of Kona's history and contributed to its cultural heritage. While adapting to their new environment, they managed to retain their cultural identities. Today, you can see the rich texture of Kona's multicultural heritage in the faces of its people, in the dialect spoken, the foods eaten, and in the celebrations enjoyed by the community. While the district is still agriculturally based, the main industry today is tourism. Residential, commercial, and resort development extends primarily north along the coast from Kailua to the district of Kohala. The story of Kona and Hawaii is not that different from the rest of the world. Different groups of people settling in an area, adapting to the environmental conditions, then changing as waves of cultural groups moved through. Here in Kona, it is a blend of Polynesian, European, American, Chinese, Portuguese, Japanese, Filipino, and more. If you explore North and South Kona, what you will see is evidence of all these cultures and the mark they have made on today's society. Many of the sites where these events took place have been preserved and made accessible to the public. Hulihe'e Palace, Pu'uhonua Ohonaunau National Park, Amy B.H. Greenwell, Ethnobotanical Garden, Kealakekua Bay State Historical Park, Kuamo'o Battlefield, the Kona Historical Society's Kona Coffee Living History Farm, Kona Heritage Ranch, and Greenwell Store Museum are just a few of the many places you can experience Kona's rich cultural heritage. For a detailed guide to the historic sites of Kona, the Kona Historical Society's A Guide to Old Kona is available at the gift shop. Kevelina mai nei I Kona, e nā nea mai ho'i kau. Aloha, and welcome to the District of Kona. We hope you enjoy your stay. Aloha.